This lesson is on properties of numbers. Now that you've learned the essential vocabulary of algebra, in this lesson you will learn the properties of numbers that will make solving problems easier. There will be times when you'll need to identify the property that was used, and other times you'll want to know when it's best to apply these properties to help simplify what you're looking at. The first three properties in numbers can be applied to both addition and multiplication. When given an expression with either addition or multiplication, you'll want to examine it to see if you can use the identity, commutative, or associative property. Another property that will help you is the inverse property. Although this property will only apply to addition, you will discover in future lessons that this is the most widely used property when working with equations. Finally, you are going to learn about two concepts used in multiplication, reciprocal and the distributive property. An identity is an action that can be done to a term or expression that never changes its value, just like how I've changed my appearance. I am who I am. In addition, if you add or subtract 0 from any term or expression, you'll never change its value. For example, if you add 0 to a constant, you can just cross it out, since it's not needed in the expression. Even in an algebraic expression, when 0 is added, it is not needed. The expression can be rewritten without it. Here's another example of a term where 0 was added. You see that the term that remains is 4x. 0 can be added to an entire expression, and it still doesn't matter. It does not matter if 0 is added behind or in front of a constant, variable, term, or even in the middle of an expression. The value will never change. Multiplication also has an identity property. But since when you multiply a number by 0, it will always equal 0, that changes the value of the number and therefore is not an identity. But when you multiply a number by 1, you'll always get the original number, which makes that an identity property. Let's look at some examples in which multiplying by 1 isn't essential in the expression. Here you have in the first example, 1 times 4 equals 4. If I cross out that 1 there, you can see 4 is equal to 4, so the 1 really wasn't even needed. When you multiply 1 times a variable, it's also not needed. 1 times any variable is just the original variable. That's why many times when you see a variable in an expression, you will not see any numbers in front of it if its coefficient is 1. In this example, you see that 1 is being multiplied to the term 4x, and it equals 4x. Again, if you see 1 multiplied to a term, it is not an essential part of the expression. Here we have 1 being multiplied to an entire expression of 4x plus 5. Again, you can almost just cross it off, and that expression still equals 4x plus 5. Just like in addition, when we added 0 to the front of the expression or the term or the constant, it didn't change. Same with multiplication. Just because we multiply by 1 after a constant, a variable, or a term, we will still get the same answer. In each expression, I've crossed off the multiplication of 1, and you can see what we get for the answer is whatever's left over. So just remember, an identity is any action that's done that doesn't change its values. We just discussed two identity properties, the addition identity property where if we added 0, it doesn't change the value, and the multiplication identity property. When we multiply by 1, it doesn't change the value.